Okay, we are live. The floor is mine. Okay. All right. So 10:13:52. Ani Madhyar Mahi Mabhir Ajadyabir Vibhutibhi Chaturvim Shatibhi Statvai Paritamahad Abidhi. A translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. All the Vishnu Murtis were surrounded by the opulences, headed by Anima Siddhi, by the mystic potencies, headed by Aja, and by the 24 elements for the creation of the material world, headed by the Mahatattva. Some details today. Purport. In this verse, the word Mahimabhi means Aishwarya, or opulence. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can do whatever He likes. This is His Aishwarya. No one can command Him, but He can command everyone. Sad Aishwarya Purnam. The Lord is full in 6 opulences. The Yoga Siddhis, the perfections of yoga, such as the ability to become smaller than the smallest, Anima Siddhi, or bigger than the biggest, Mahima Siddhi, are present in Lord Vishnu. Sad Aishwarya Purnaya Iha Bhagavan. CC Adilila 1.3. The word Aja means Maya, or mystic power. That's what Bhima Prabhu has. Everything mysterious is in full existence in Vishnu. The 24 elements mentioned are the 5 working senses, Pancha Karmendriya, the 5 senses for obtaining knowledge, Pancha Gyanendriya, the 5 gross material elements, Pancha Mahabhuta, the 5 sense objects, Pancha Tanmatra, the mind, Manas, and the false ego, Ahankara. The false ego, Ahankara, the Mahatattva, and the material nature, Prakriti. So all 24 of these elements are employed for the manifestation of this material world. So all those 24 elements are employed for the manifestation in this material world. The Mahatattva is divided into different subtle categories, but originally it is called the Mahatattva. Okay, this is the verse in the purport. Let's invoke Krishna's presence by our prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Minitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master is opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him again and again and again. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristai Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. Let's see if the speaker is here. Not yet. Okay. Oh, brother. Interesting verse, very technical. Is Krishna Daya here on the call? Krishna Daya Panditji? Are you here? No, no backup for me. Okay, let's see. So in this verse, what's being described is what Lord Brahmaji sees. He sees that all these cowherd boys are actually Vishnu murtis, Vishnu forms. And as we discussed a couple classes earlier, Krishna is so kind, Vishnu is so kind that he shares his own body with his devotees. That's a type of liberation where a sincere follower, sincere devotee gets to have the same body as Lord Vishnu on his planet. And but there's one difference. There's one difference by which we can tell if it's Lord Vishnu or a devotee of Lord Vishnu who has the same body. Who knows what it is? What little detail it is?
The Kastuba jewel and the tuft of hair.
Yes. He has a little hair and the gray hair, right? No, not the gray hair. Gray hair, that's what I'm starting to have on my chest. But it's like a golden little hair on Lord Vishnu's chest and Kastuba gem. Yes, Jamunajaya. Nice.
And the Srivatsa mark.
What's Srivatsa mark?
It's also a mark on the chest.
What is it, like a cut or what?
I don't know exactly how it looks like, but I know it's called a Srivatsa mark. I think it's usually looking closer like a V.
Okay, like tilak.
Yeah, similar, I think.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Ananda Manjari. Yeah, I see our captain, Dayal Gauranga Prabhu, has arrived. He's our executive director. He executes Bhakti, dear devotees. He executes Bhakti. All right. And yeah, I was, yeah, so this is what Lord Brahma sees. And those Vishnu Murtis, those expansions aren't his devotees. They are Vishnu themselves. They all have these marks, Shivatsa, hair, and Kaustubha gem. So this is how wonderful Krishna is. He can extend himself. I was having this question a couple classes ago also. I wanted to ask, if Krishna created those illusory cowherd boys and gave them to Brahma to steal, so why did he have to expand himself? He could have just used the original cowherd boys and just have them going on with the pastimes. Why did he have to expand himself? So that's a question. That's an open question. We'll leave it for Dayal Gauranga Prabhu. Maybe he can answer, maybe not. Maybe Krishna Daya will tune in and answer. We'll see. Dayal Gauranga Ji, good morning. Did you find legal parking?
That's between me and the cops.
All right. Okay. Let me spotlight Dayal Gauranga Prabhu. Where is he? Dayal Gauranga. Spotlight. Making co-host. Okay. So the verse today, Dayal Gauranga Prabhu, is 10:13:52. We read it already, but feel free to reread. Maybe you can read it dramatically and comment. So if you're ready, the floor is yours. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. You may want to mute yourself. Okay. So 10, 13, 47, and 48, yes? I will read them just because
52.
I haven't read them. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much for being here. My deep apologies for being tardy. Ananda Bihari said you guys already read the verses, but I'll read them again because I haven't read them. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 13, verses 47 through 48.
Gauranga, it's
The
52,
pastime
verse
of
52.
Brahma stealing the cowherd boys and the cows from Krishna. And as we discussed last week, we're discussing the pride of Brahma and the mood of devotion that Rupa Goswami defines bhakti in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as Anyabhilasha dashunyam jnana karma jnanavartam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttamam. So he says that bhakti is defined by several characteristics, that it is directed towards Krishna in a favorable mood to please Krishna. And so it's not always visible externally what's pleasing to Krishna, right? So Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna. Was it in a favorable mood? No. Nope. You can always count on whoever's behind the curtain to help us out. Yashodamai was running to catch Krishna and tie. She had a stick. What do people do with sticks? It's not, yeah. I'll leave that to you. Running in with a stick. My Italian mother used to chase me with a wooden spoon, a rolling pin. At least it wasn't a knife. Hare Krishna, Champak. Yeah, we're gonna have a therapy session with Champak after this. She wanted to tie him to a grinding mortar, right? So Radharani becomes anger because it pleases Krishna. Yashodamai was chasing Krishna to increase their rasa. So it was in a favorable mood. It was in a favorable mood. Whereas Duryodhana cooked a great feast for Krishna before the battle to win his favor. Beautiful, big, elaborate feast. You would think, wow, what wonderful service. But it wasn't in a favorable mood to please Krishna. It wasn't anyabhilasha dashunyam. It wasn't devoid of any ulterior motive. And so when we perform our devotional service, it's not just what we do, but the mood in which we do it. And also sometimes as we ourselves are quote unquote judging ourselves or other people, we should be a little bit more careful of how we measure quote unquote devotional service externally, because it very much is something internally. And the mood, and it might not always look so pretty or picture perfect on the outside, but the mood is that I'm always just trying to please Krishna, always trying to please Krishna. And that's not a very easy thing to do, to understand what pleases Krishna. And therefore we perform our sadhana, we perform our devotional activities, we move with character, we practice Trinadapi Sunichena Torore Vasahishnuna Amanina Mandina Kirtaniya Sadahari, so that we can have that internal transmission from Krishna always coming in clear. How did Yashodamai know that chasing Krishna with the stick and tying him to a grinding mortar was pleasing to him? Because she was pure in heart and she was connected to Krishna on a deep level. And so she wasn't clouded by any desire for anything other than to please Krishna. So our sadhana, our devotional lives, it's just a clearing of all of the fuzz and all of the haze and all of the fog and all of the noise and all of the clouded, crowded frequencies that get in the way of us from understanding what really pleases Krishna. Arjuna had that dilemma on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. What pleases Krishna? He was completely, utterly bewildered. And the thing that he thought was the most terrible, Krishna says, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service. And Arjuna is like, what are you talking about? keep all abominable activities. That's why I'm trying to run away from this battle. And Krishna's like, no, that's not the abominable. The abominable activity is when you are disconnected from what pleases me. And so as devotees, we're constant, and it's never clear cut. Devotional life is a very, very tricky game, because it's not completely. Shubha Vilasrupa gave a really beautiful class on Sunday to his at the Bhagavat Shravana here on intelligence and faith. And he was saying that, especially in the beginning part of our spiritual life, we have to let our intelligence lead, and the faith kind of supports us from the back. But when we approach problems, circumstances that our intelligence cannot solve, then we have to bring faith in to lead us the rest of the way. And so in spiritual life, our material faculties, our intelligence, etc., won't always be able to dictate to us what's pleasing to Krishna. And so we have to rely on, and faith, the question I didn't get to ask him is that intelligence is a material faculty. You can strengthen it like a muscle, based on how much you put into it. Faith is also a muscle that you strengthen, but it's also a gift. Faith is something that also is bestowed, that we pray for, that we beg from the people who have it. I can get intelligence all on my own. You read, you learn from other people. And it's also, we're born with different levels of intelligence and different capacities, just like we all have a capacity. Some of us have a limit to how strong we can be. No matter how much weight I lift, no matter how much I run or exercise, there's just a capacity of how much my body can physically do. Faith does not have any of those limitations. No matter what you're born with, no matter who you are, what circumstance you're born into, your wealth, your social status, your physicalities, limitations, faith is not dependent on any of those things. And so it's something that we have to pray for. We pray for. And so Brahma is here, and we talked about how Brahma was bewildered. Brahma is bewildered. And he's bewildered because he's not acting from a place of what pleases Krishna. He's trying to satisfy something according to his own ego. So the degree to which we are not anyabhilashita shunyam, anyabhilashita shunyam. Shunyam means devoid, completely without. Like Srila Prabhupada was nirvishesha shunyavadi. Shunya means without, voidism, void of anyabhilashita, any other type of desire other than to please Krishna. So the degree that we're not completely pure in our motive to please Krishna, we're going to get confused. We're going to get bewildered. And Brahma found himself in that situation. So reading this verse here, translation. All those personalities had 4 arms holding conch shell, discs, mace, and lotus flower in their hands. They wore helmets on their heads, earrings on their ears, and garlands of forest flowers around their necks. On the upper portion of the right side of their chests was the emblem of the goddess of fortune. Furthermore, they wore armlets on their arms, the kaustubha gem around their necks, which were marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, and bracelets on their wrists with bangles on their ankles, ornaments on their feet, and sacred belts around their waist. They all appeared very beautiful. We're blessed. We have a very beautiful photo of this pastime here in the temple room, Radha Mulidar's temple, one of my favorite photos. What I love about this photo, you can't see it here if you're not on the, if you're on the Zoom, but if you've been in the Bhakti Center, you've seen this beautiful photo. It's a picture of Krishna, little baby Krishna, just cute little, slightly, in this picture he's not slightly chubby, but generally he is. In some of the other pictures he is. Beautiful, cute Krishna sitting on a rock with garland and flowers in his hair and yellow dhoti, surrounded by all of these beautiful Vishnu forms. And the question is, who's emanating from who? Who is the Swayam Bhagavan? Who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Is it that the supreme absolute truth is beautiful, shining Vishnu form with the Kaustubha gem and all of these armlets and conch shells and bracelets decided to become this little boy in order to enjoy pastimes? Or is it that that little boy is actually the Swayam Bhagavan? He's the supreme truth. And from him come these crowned and braceleted, these crowned regal forms of God. And that's the bewilderment of Brahma. He's like, I can understand if that supreme Vishnu with crowns and bracelets and Kaustubha gems decided, you know what, I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to pretend to be a little boy because I want to have some fun. But that's not what happened. That supreme, the ultimate absolute truth is that little boy who from that expansion becomes these other Vishnu forms in order to take care of the universe and perform all the material affairs. So when you look at that picture, you can actually experience for a moment the bewilderment of Brahma, that actually that little boy is the absolute truth. That's our highest conception of reality. Prabhupada goes on the purport. All the Vishnu forms had 4 arms with conch shell and other articles, but these characteristics are also possessed by those who have attained sarupya mukti. Rupa means form and sa means with, and so the liberation where you have the form with the Lord, sarupya mukti. In Vaikuntha, and who consequently have 4 arms exactly like the form of the Lord. However, these Vishnu forms appearing before Lord Brahma also possess the mark of Srivatsa and the Kaustubha gem, which are special characteristics possessed only by the Supreme Lord himself. This proves that all these boys and calves were in fact directly expansions of Vishnu, the personality of Godhead, not merely his associates of Vaikuntha. Vishnu himself is included within Krishna. And that's our point we just made, right? Vishnu is included within Krishna, not that Krishna is included within Vishnu. You look up Wikipedia, and you look up Krishna, he's like the 7th expansion of Vishnu, whatever. Wrong, Wikipedia. Krishna is that Swayam Bhagavan. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Vishnu himself is included within Krishna. All the opulences of Vishnu are already present in Krishna. And consequently, for Krishna to demonstrate so many Vishnu forms was actually not very astonishing. The Srivatsa mark is described by the Vaishnava Toshini as being a curl of fine yellow hair on the upper portion of the right side of Lord Vishnu's chest. This mark is not for ordinary devotees. It is a special mark of Vishnu or Krishna. Hare Krishna. I spoke a little bit before we even got to read the verse. You guys had already read the verse, and then I got to read it for myself, and then you guys got a repeat. And I wanted to, before moving forward, just to invite discussion and dialogue along the way. It's just that I'm not speaking the whole time. Was there any reflections, questions, reflections, comments on what I said before the verse or what was read here, or questions that came up before I entered into the room, whether you're on live or whether you are in the Zoom?
I had a reflection about our intelligence not being like a muscle, a faculty that can be trained, and faith.
You're saying something else. We can't hear you. Ananda Biharji.
Hare Krishna. Is it just me? Can you hear me? Hare Krishna.
We can hear you fine.
My computer was muted because of before. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. I'm just reflecting on how our intelligence is a muscle, material faculty that can be trained, and our faith is something that we have to pray for. And my question is our progress in bhakti like a muscle? You said that it's a spiritual thing. We have to pray for it. But I can tell that the more I practice bhakti, the better I get at it. Maybe I'm just stupid. I don't know. Here's my question.
The more I practice bhakti, the better I get at it. Yes, the more I practice bhakti, the better I get at it, but not because of me. I think the way Krishna designs our devotional life is that he wants to make sure that when we achieve spiritual success, not looking back and saying, I did it. Because that's the definition of ahamkar. Ahamkar literally means I'm the doer. I did it. And so yes, our endeavor displays our sincerity in such a way that, because ultimately bhakti is, Rupa Goswami also describes in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu the various qualities of pure bhakti. And the highest quality of bhakti is that it's attractive even to Krishna Karshini. And so bhakti attracts Krishna. And so Krishna also needs to know that he can trust us. Right? Krishna needs to know that he can trust us. So our sincerity, our service, our effort, our endeavor is an expression to Krishna that you can trust me.
Thank
so
you.
Krishna ultimately is that bestower of bhakti. And so it is true that when we practice devotional service, we get better at it. But it's not by our own effort, not by our own doing. It's like in the Damodar pastime, it's the two fingers by our endeavor and Krishna's grace. So Mother Yashoda was able to bind Krishna, not through her effort, but because her effort ultimately and Krishna allowed himself to be caught by Mother Yashoda. And so it's important for us to not get to the quote unquote, not to the gates of Vrindavan and think, I did it. But think, wow, I was allowed to come here. My great fortune. Keep it humble.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Dayal Ganga Prabhu.
You even have in the Rasa Lila pastimes of the 10th canto Bhagavatam, where Krishna disappeared from the gopis, that Krishna, in one sense, Krishna was saying that they were becoming proud that they were seeing Krishna. So Krishna removed himself to increase their hankering. So thank you. Anyone else? Just want to, even if it's just a reflection. Otherwise, we can continue.
I like when you mentioned the internal transmission of information from Krishna.
Thank you, Henry. What did you like about that?
You know, it makes me kind of meditate on the super soul, how we have to get tuned in to that information, like Krishna's right there inside us, and he has all the information and he's ready to give it to us, but we just need to get properly tuned in. And you said sadhana, we must have our good sadhana in order to be able to tune that channel.
Thank you, Henry. I appreciate that. Yes. Yes. Ananda Manjari has a hand up, our scribe, our note taker.
Yes, I wanted to add actually in a similar vein of what Henry Prabhu said, and I really appreciated your point of devotional service means to do an action that has an intention of pleasing Krishna, but we don't know what really pleases Krishna. So that's actually becoming our focus. Like, how do we find out what pleases Krishna so we actually can perform devotional service? And that comes from sadhana, associating with devotees. Really working on our sadachar and essentially cultivating our entire lives to actually align with really knowing what pleases the Lord.
Yes, thank you so much. It really is spiritual life. If you wanted to distill it down in one particular way, it's just a refining of our desires. It's a defining of our desires. And our frustrations in life, our sorrows, our struggles, in a lot of way are indicators of what our desires are. And so if we look at this definition of bhakti, anyabhilasha shunyam jnana karma janavritam, that it's not covered, it's void of any ulterior motive or desire. The more that we practice bhakti, any ulterior desire is going to get squeezed out of us. And so if my desire simply is to please Krishna, then the things that disturb me will shift. And if I find myself being disturbed in certain areas of life, I can allow that to become a moment of reflection of what were the things I was desiring other than to please Krishna? What were the things I was desiring other than to please Krishna? And just let that become a self-awareness. And it doesn't mean that we sometimes there's no leapfrogging into transcendence. There's no transcendence without transformation. And sometimes we just tell ourselves that my desires are going to go away by just telling them to go away. And without recognizing, it's like, oh, it's like imagine if you get to a place and you realize that your physical health isn't where you want it to be. You know, it took me a while to get to where my physical health is today by not eating healthy or not exercising or neglecting, et cetera. And just noticing that physically I'm not where I want my health to be. It's like, okay, now I need to set a plan, and it's going to take me some time. It might take me weeks, it might take me months, it might take me a couple of years to reset a path and charter, but I know and I'm on a path. And so similarly, we just sometimes think when it comes to spiritual life, it's just an overnight affair. You know, I just gotta stop being envious. I have to stop wanting validation. I have to stop being arrogant. I have to stop getting rid of all my greed without thinking like, no, like there's a long-term plan that we have to give ourselves a little grace along the way. And so sometimes when we think about, you know, I've got ulterior desires, we just feel really bad about them and start to just kind of sink into this like lowly place. I'm so terrible. But that's not the point. The point is actually to become aware of ourselves, so that at least we're not fooling ourselves, you know? And so I think that for us to be able to take the opportunity of recognizing, I mean, in one sense, it's very liberating to recognize my desires separate from pleasing Krishna. So at least I don't have some sort of false narrative of what's really going on. And I can stop blaming other people. I can stop blaming Krishna and putting it in the guise of, I'm just trying to serve. Serve what? Yeah, I'm trying to serve. I'm also trying to serve my ego and my reputation. If you're really just trying to serve, then serve however Krishna's placing that in front of you and be humble about it. You know, but I want to serve in the way that I want to serve. And I want people to recognize my service in a particular way. I'm just trying to serve. Okay, well, if you're just trying to serve, what are you so angry about? Let's work together, you know. And so I think that sometimes when we have this phrase of, I'm just trying to serve, but we're not listening to how does Krishna want me to serve? How do the devotees want me to serve? How's my sadhana so that I can actually tune into the frequency of what Krishna is asking me to do? And am I willing to, am I so unself-aware, so foolish in a way to think that I have no desire other than to please Krishna? Do I really think I'm on that platform? Or am I willing to be humble enough to recognize, you know what? I'm definitely bringing some ego into this equation. And there's definitely a need for me to what extent am I bringing that Ishwar Bhav of Brahma? Ishwar Bhav means like, I am the controller, I am the doer, I am the overseer. I'm meant to be recognized. And so we owe it to ourselves to identify that and to allow ourselves to be humble. Gail's got a big hand up.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I'm how should I say? Anyway, you know, I know of young ladies who are wondering why they have not yet been able to find that Prabhu, right, who can support them in their devotional life. You know, even Srila Prabhupada said that, you know, it is of utmost importance that we be happy and peaceful. Otherwise, we won't be able to focus on our Krishna consciousness. So, yeah. So, you know, you say that, well, if we're being disturbed because that Prabhu is not coming, then, you know, there must be some selfish desire there. Well, you know, we're conditioned souls, so obviously some degree is going to be there. But just, you know, how would you respond to young ladies who are wondering if and when, you know, it's ever going to happen for them? You know, I mean, you know, their sincerity is there. they want somebody to with whom they can work toward Krishna consciousness as a team. But time is ticking.
It's a great question, and I think that you use the word selfish, right? You use the word selfish, which generally has a negative connotation. Shouldn't be selfish, and I think that use the word selfish, but it's also you can use the word desire, and you can also use the word needs. And I think that it's important for us to just own it for ourselves, what our desires are and what our needs. And so it may be the case that, this is what I need in order to be happy. And I own that. And one of the things that I was told is that it's not Maya to take what you need in order to be happy in your Krishna consciousness. And so if you need a particular home situation, a life situation, you need a certain level of material comfort in order to be situated in your service, then each person owes it to themselves to figure out what that is, to situate themselves accordingly so that they can go on with their service. But we should own it. We should own it. This is what I need. If you're telling me that you need this in order to do your life, you need some material comfort. Yeah, I do. I'm not unlimitedly tolerant. I'm not devoid of needs for some level of like base material sanity, comfort. I'm not just going to eat boiled vegetables with no salt, and I'm not just going to, I need something. I need whatever it might be. And so I think that there's nothing wrong with that. And it's going to be different for each of us. I think the problem we have is that we think there's something bad with having some sort of ulterior motive or desire. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, all of it gets washed away with time if we perform our bhakti. I think that it's just, the important part of it is just owning it and not getting too infatuated with it. You're like, yeah, it's not like this is just what I need in order to perform my service.
Yes, Prabhu, that's how I think too. Everything you just said, I'm in agreement with. But I'm trying to reconcile that with your prior statement, which sounded like, well, if I'm disturbed, then, there's some false ego problem going on. It's like there is something amiss.
I didn't say there's something amiss or false ego problem, but we do have false ego.
We do. But in other words, is there something to be said to pacify a person who is in this discontented situation because their needs aren't being presently met?
Then I would say it's each of our personal responsibility to put ourselves in a situation where our needs can be met. Nothing wrong with that. As far as possible. And without knowing the specifics of the situation, you're giving me a general I don't know.
It's not there are no specifics. It's just in general. Just let's say in ISKCON, there are many young ladies in ISKCON that are, they're out there looking for prospects, and the pickings are slim. So what to do?
Is there someone you have in mind that you need to make a public service announcement?
There's several. That's why I don't really need to.
I guess I'm trying to understand is your question like if someone's looking for a partner and they're not finding one,
mm-hmm.
Does that mean they're a bad person with material desires? Is that what your question is?
Yeah, I mean, I know the answer to that is no, it's not. But in the first part of your speech, it sounded, it sounded like those people could be lumped with those who are, because you remember you said that, if you're being disturbed because you're not getting to serve, the way you want, then you should like do some introspection, what as to, why are you being disturbed, as if to say there is something amiss about your sincerity in wanting to serve otherwise. So, I'm just saying, it just seems that it's not always that if you're being disturbed that it's that the conclusion is that, well, there's maybe a lack of sincerity in one's desire to serve or something like that.
Yeah, and I don't want to use the word conclusion in the sense that that's it, but I think we all owe it to ourselves to at least know and admit that the point that I'm making here is that, well, there's general statements and then there's specific situations. When you look at the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna was making general principles. He was telling Krishna to fight. There are times when Srila Prabhupada told someone to take sannyas. There's times when Prabhupada told someone to get married. And there are different instructions that Prabhupada would give to different people according to time, place, and circumstances. So how we apply Shastra to our specific situations, that's why we have gurus, both Diksha and Shiksha gurus. And so we have the principles, and then we have the specifics of how they're applied to our lives, which you're not going to get necessarily just by reading the book or hearing the class. You need to look at your specific situations. The principle is that, yes, we have various, all of us are here because we have some desire other than pleasing Krishna. And we owe it to ourselves to recognize what it is that I need in order to feel supported and stable and satisfied in my Krishna consciousness. I think where the challenge comes is that when we bring in the shame and the guilt and the judgment that gets poured on by ourselves or other people, that now I'm a bad person because I have that, and that's not helpful for our Krishna consciousness either. I was a brahmachari for 10 years. I got married. I now live in Brooklyn with my wife and a dog. Am I a pure devotee with no ulterior desires? No, but I realized that's what I needed in order to be supported in my Krishna consciousness. And so I don't think, just to your point, we're going to blow, Champak is not giving us any extra time here, that we don't need to feel bad and lay on the guilt and the shame and the judgment, which I think is getting in the way of us accepting, the simple points. Love you, Gail. Love you all. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Dayal Gauranga Prabhu ki jai. Jai, Shishirana Muladhar, Shigor Chandra, Di Jai. Okay, takeaways. Time. Bhima Prabhu, can I shame you for missing the class yesterday?
You're fully welcome to shame me.
Okay.
Shame away. Bring it on. I want to hear it.
No, I'm just joking. I invite dear devotees, please share your realizations or takeaways from this class, especially the letter part of it. Very interesting question. Jamuna Jaya.
Hey, Bo. I too, I always appreciate when Gail asks a question because it's always is full of everything. But it brings up something that, I had asked long ago to my Guru Dave when I was first starting in Christian consciousness. I was disturbed by the fact that I had such loving relationships with my family and quite frankly, my husband. I'm like, should I be renounced? I need these relationships. They fuel me. And he wrote back a lovely letter to me saying, no, these are the good things. You owned up to it. They support you in your Krishna consciousness. So I always love hearing that. And to Gail's point, I get a lot of questions a lot of times about what's it like to be a devotee married to somebody who's not a devotee a lot. But I say he supports me. I couldn't live my life without my husband. And so he may not wear tilak, but he is das on a das because he supports me all the way. So I always love points about that to remind us we all are going to need different things. And it's what brings us closer to Krishna. And it may not look the way we think it's going to look sometimes. So thank you. Everybody.
Very solid contribution, Jamuna Jaya. Thank you.
Oh, wait, I lost sound. Wait, my earbud came out. Say that again, Ananda Bihari.
We love you. Very solid contribution. Husband is
Got one.
Oh, wait,
Got
here we
one
go.
for
Sound. Say it one more time. Oh, I think
your
okay.
husband is a sweetheart.
He is indeed. I'm very lucky. Horrible.
Rich.
I was just going to reiterate what a powerful reflection that your disturbances speak to your desires. And last couple of days I've been going through and reading some of my favorite passages of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and one came to mind that it just blew my mind. I'll say this is in reference to Haridas Thakur, and I'll tell you that his is such a high standard that usually I find myself identifying more with the prostitute Pingala, wondering why on earth I'm identifying with this house of bones and stool. But Haridas Thakur, in the chapter on his passing, as his body was failing, Sri Chaitanya asked him what was wrong with him as this man is dying. And he says, my disease is I cannot complete my rounds. How's that for an example? How's that for an example of your disturbances speaking to your desires? He wasn't even thinking I'm dying. He's thinking, God forbid, I can't complete my rounds. Just such a beautiful example. Whether we can ever attain it, at the very least, we can meditate on it. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Rich. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, Chaitanya Charitamrita is nectar.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, that last contribution made me realize how I wish I had framed my question earlier during the class. So our disturbances point to our desires, right? But that doesn't mean that those desires are not legit, and that's what I would have said to Dayal, I mean, I know he agrees, but so, just because
We'll tell him, Dayal, your desires are legit. I'll tell him.
Yeah, so, I don't think we should feel that just because we are disturbed, that therefore we have, desires that are not Krishna conscious. They might not be directly Krishna conscious, but they could be desires that would support our Krishna consciousness, like, that happy home life, So, yeah, I don't think, being disturbed necessarily points to something being wrong, just might point only to the fact that you have some needs that haven't been met. And there's nothing wrong about that, although it doesn't feel good, but,
Yeah, we're all in the hospital, and it's not that we're bad. We just need some help.
yeah.
Bhima Prabhu, has that Prabhu appeared in your life that can guide you?
I mean, Prabhu Genie?
No, Prabhu, Prabhu.
I don't know what that means. What's that Prabhu? I
It means a blue
actually,
boy.
in reflection, can you hear? Yes.
Yeah, reflect, Bhima Prabhu.
Well,
I can hear.
Ultimately, can you hear me okay? Am I breaking up?
We can hear you okay,
Can you
Bhima
hear
Prabhu.
me? Okay, all right. I'll try to make this quick. Ultimately, I'm just speaking philosophically here, not from my own realization, but all we really need, especially the young ladies, is capital P, Prabhu. They only need one man in their life. This is what we never should forget, that ultimately we only need one thing in our life. And in that, that whether you are a Prabhu or a Prabhu Genie, that if we would like to have someone accompany us on this path, to lend support and to share, ultimately our joy and is doubled, and our distresses are cut in half when we have someone with us, and theirs as well. So it is a good thing. It's a good thing to have a partner in Krishna consciousness, but each partner should never forget that that we are both looking straight ahead, not at each other. We don't need each other. We need Krishna, and Krishna will thereby put us together so that we are not, so that we can have someone, as you said, Ananda Bihari, someone say, hey, you're getting off the path, you're getting close to the edge, you might fall off this straight and narrow path. You might fall off if you keep messing with the guardrails there. It takes someone who knows you. And nobody knows you like your wife. Nobody knows you like your husband. Husband saying, maybe you shouldn't spend all that money. Maybe 2 closets full of clothes is enough to go to the temple properly dressed. But anyways, well, that's just me speaking. So yeah, it's wonderful. We need Krishna. And if we pray to Krishna, if the pickings are slim, that's funny, so much is revealed. If the pickings are slim within the movement, then have patience and pray. And Krishna, if he sees that you're sincere in loving him, will send you the exact Prabhu you need. I know that's what's happened in my life. So all I can do is be a witness to that. So Hare Krishna, and once again, beautiful, wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Bhima Prabhu, thank you. Yeah, Krishna knows what he's doing. He's working in everyone's life, and he will give us enough money, enough Prabhujis to do what he wants us to do according to his plan. We're just witness, servant. Yes, we're Prakriti. We're all female. I don't know where I'm going with this. Esoteric. I'm going esoteric. All right. Any other contributions to class before we go overly esoteric? No? Okay. Have a wonderful day. It was nice spending this morning minutes with you. Come again tomorrow. Let Krishna continue his work in our heart. Bhima Prabhu, beautiful lake. Are you taking a swim? Don't forget to take your head off. Okay. Hare Krishna. Love you all.
Skating, Prabhu, skating.
Skating.